Let's talk about breast cancer. It's a diagnosis that, for millions, changes absolutely everything. But what if I told you that the way we fight this disease is in the middle of a massive revolution? In this explainer, we're going to break it all down, from the very first steps of detection all the way to the cutting edge of personalized treatment. My goal here is to give you a really clear picture of this complex disease and hopefully empower you with knowledge.
A breast cancer diagnosis is just a life-altering moment. It's not just something that affects the person who gets the news. It sends these huge ripples out through their entire circle of family and friends. It's a heavy thing.
But, and this is the really hopeful part, the science is changing right along with it. We are in the middle of this incredible transformation in how we approach this fight. And honestly, it's a story of amazing progress. So what does that mean? It means we're ditching the old one-size-fits-all playbook. The future of cancer treatment, and really the present, is all about getting personal, tailoring the fight to the unique, specific characteristics of each person's cancer. And this is why that is so important. Check out this number. Roughly 70%. That's how many breast cancers are what we call hormone receptor positive. This one statistic tells you everything. It shows why understanding the type of cancer is the most critical first step. It's really the key that unlocks the door to the right treatment. So let's start at square one. How is breast cancer even found, and what exactly is it? This first section is all about getting the basics down, detection and definition.
That first step towards early awareness, it can actually start right at home with a breast self-exam. It's a pretty simple 5-step process that just helps you get familiar with your body and notice if anything changes. Now, it's no substitute for a professional screening, of course, but it's a really important first line of defense.
So what is breast cancer really? Well, at its most basic level, the definition is pretty straightforward. It's what happens when some cells in the breast just lose their normal off switch and start to grow and divide without stopping. Okay, and if you take away one single thing from this whole explainer, let it be this. We use this one umbrella term, breast cancer, but it is absolutely not one single disease. It's more like a whole spectrum of different diseases. Each one has its own personality, its own genetic signature, and that is precisely why this move to personalized medicine is such a game changer. All right, so if it's so complex, how in the world do you fight it? What does the toolkit for fighting breast cancer actually look like? In this section, let's dig into the main strategies doctors have at their disposal. Think of it like a really powerful and varied arsenal. Medical teams can pull from all sorts of options. There's surgery, radiation, and chemotherapy, the ones you've probably heard of most. But there are also these highly specialized tools, like hormone therapy, targeted therapy, and immunotherapy. Each one attacks the cancer in a totally different way. Let's just take surgery for a second. You'll often hear about two main options. A lumpectomy is where just the tumor and a little bit of tissue around it are removed. And then there's a mastectomy, which is the removal of the entire breast. Which one is chosen really depends on a ton of factors, like the tumor size and where it's located. So, you've got all these tools. How do doctors know which one to pick? Well, this is where we get into that truly revolutionary shift I was talking about, the move to personalized treatment. It's all about matching the therapy to the tumor. Remember that 70% number? That's hormone receptor positive, or HR positive cancer. So with this type, the cancer cells have these little receptors on them. Think of them like docking stations for hormones, like estrogen. When estrogen locks in, it tells the cell to grow. So hormone therapy is brilliant. It basically just blocks those docking stations, cutting off the fuel supply the cancer needs. Then there's another major subtype, HER2 positive. Now, what's really interesting here is that these cells make way too much of a protein called HER2. And that protein is like hitting the gas pedal on growth. So targeted therapy acts like a smart key that's designed to fit only into the HER2 protein's lock. It clicks in, shuts down that growth signal, and it leaves healthy cells alone. It's just incredibly precise. And this chart, it just lays it all out perfectly. You match the treatment to the tumor's blueprint. HR-positive cancer gets hormone therapy. HER2-positive gets those targeted HER2 inhibitors, and then there's something called triple-negative, which, as the name suggests, doesn't have any of those 3 receptors. For that, the main tools are often chemotherapy and more, immunotherapy. But, the journey doesn't just stop once the initial treatment is over. For a lot of people, the real challenge becomes managing the disease for the long haul. So let's talk about some of the challenges in long-term care. And here's something that's really important to understand, especially for those hormone-driven cancers. The risk of the cancer coming back doesn't just vanish after 5 years. It can actually stick around for decades. And that's exactly why scientists have been studying whether extending treatments, like hormone therapy, well beyond that initial 5-year mark makes sense. But of course, it's not that simple. It's a huge trade-off, right? On one hand, staying on the therapy can definitely lower the risk of the cancer returning. But on the other hand, it can come with its own set of long-term side effects. It's a deeply personal decision that every person has to weigh with their doctor, balancing those benefits against the risks.
Okay, so let's end by looking ahead, because the future, it's all about even more precision. In this last section, we'll explore what's on the cutting edge of personalized medicine.
This image right here, it's basically the whole roadmap. It all starts with the patient. You take a tissue sample or maybe just a simple blood draw for what's called a liquid biopsy. That material gets put under the microscope, genetically and molecularly analyzed, down to the tiniest detail. Then, powerful tools like AI help find patterns in all that complex data, which finally leads to a super specific diagnosis and a treatment plan built just for that one person. And the tech behind all this, it's just mind-blowing. Liquid biopsies mean doctors can actually watch a tumor change in real time. Genetic analysis is literally decoding the cancer's instruction manual. AI is finding the important signals in all that biological noise. And immunotherapy? Well, that's about unlocking the power of a person's own immune system to go fight the cancer. It's incredible stuff. And that brings us to one final, really big thought. The science is moving forward at a breathtaking pace, offering more hope than ever before. But these amazing advances also raise a huge question for us as a society. As we create these powerful, personalized treatments, how do we build a system that makes sure they are actually available and accessible to every single person who needs them?